प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मआणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Om. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May my mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our true self in our heart as a steadily burning candle flame. I am conscious of this only source of light. As I concentrate on that, the light from the flame is becoming more and more intense and spreads around. I see it has spread in my personality. And I see, actually I am that light. The bones, the blood, various organs, the skin, all is made of this beautiful effulgence of this self. This same brilliant effulgence is spreading all around, dissolving all names and forms. Inside and outside. One without a second. Luminous. All pervading. Existence itself. I am seeing. There is no I or world. No time or space. This is the bliss intrinsic. The peace everlasting. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin today's discussion with our usual prayers. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi grananti te Bhurida janaha. Sri Ramakrishna's life, as we have been seeing, is a practical demonstration of various spiritual ideals, the practical ways of assimilating those. It is all like a huge spiritual laboratory in which all these things have been demonstrated. literally hundreds of different practices were done by him to demonstrate. He actually did not need to do any of them except for teaching the humanity that yes, all these practices are true and they lead to the same goal. And in this chapter we are seeing how Sri Ramakrishna is thus becoming a teacher to his own teachers. He took up teachers. Although God incarnation, they born with knowledge, there is no ignorance there, but yet for the sake of teaching, he took up this idea of being an aspirant, learn from the teachers. It is told by some saints that this is like a teacher is teaching little child as to how to write A, B, C, D by just holding a slate and a pencil, and then at times holding the hand of the little one, and then helping the little one to see how these letters are to be written. Now the teacher is not really practicing for himself or herself, but it is for the little one, that the teacher also, although grown up and expert, has taken up this slate and pencil. So Sri Ramakrishna becomes an aspirant, a student, and many teachers come to him. And through his contact, these teachers also get illumined. So we are seeing about Bhairavi Brahmani, and then she was an expert in various different tantras, the practice of tantras. Especially she was an expert in what gets called Vishnu Tantra. So she taught all these practices to Sri Ramakrishna. Last time I had mentioned to you all that you can read this passage again and think about it. That it began this passage on page 528, continued on 530. That from what the master told us, it seems that the Brahmani was an aspirant of the heroic mode of Tantra. 3 modes of sadhana are described in Tantra. This heroic mode, the Sanskrit word is Veera Bhava. So, it is the bestial, means Pashu Bhava in Sanskrit. Pashu Bhava, bestial, heroic, and divine, Divya Bhava. So, lust, anger, and other animal propensities are predominant in the aspirant of the bestial mode. So, I hope you have all read this passage again and then thought about them, the different ideas that are there. The aspirants are different, and this science helps everyone in whatever mode they are. That the constitutions are not same for everyone. Internal constitution by which to approach that divine wisdom, it differs from person to person. There are those who have the tendencies of a beast or an animal. They are very powerful. And thus they practice tantra that is called this bestial mode, the Pashubhava. They because there are, as it is mentioned, that they have this predominance of lust, anger, and other animal propensities. So, and not that they don't have spiritual inclination. See, remember, there is this spiritual inclination in them. But then the prominent propensities, constitutional propensities are this lust and anger and all such things, the various passions like the beast, they are rising constantly. And so they have to practice in one way. All are not given to practice in the same one way. It is like the people with different problems, health problems, the physician gives the different medications. Even with the same problem, depending on the constitution of the patient, different medications are prescribed. And so we see the spiritual aspirant, that also is actually a process of curing the disease of ignorance. It is, and this bondage. Sri Ramakrishna therefore has been called in one nice poem, Bhavaroga Vaidya, that he is the physician of this disease of samsara or the worldly bondage. So, now all want to get freed. Yes, they are all, say, spiritual aspirants, but they have different tendencies, different kind of mental get-ups. You can see that all of us, even though we are all human beings and share so many common features. This morning I was talking with somebody to show that, well, look, so many things are common to us. Very many things, even in just a bacteria. Some this bacteria and human beings, they have major things are common, and yet there is this prominent difference too. So, similarly, all human beings also, they are, although look alike, and all of them, at least who are concerned here, they are having spiritual aspirations that I want to realize God. But the mental get-ups are not same. So, this bestial, that yes, the person has certainly the human form, but the animal tendencies are at the fore. So, therefore they need a different way. It is that it is told the similar story here, that there was the three kinds of people. They went to their one father, as it were, Prajapati. This story comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that there are these three. Who are they? One is that they are demons. Then there are the humans. And then there are, the third is the celestial angelic beings. So, when they came to Prajapati asking for advice, and now what does Prajapati do? He tells all of them the same one syllable, just one letter. The, 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 the. Now, all three understood according to what they needed. What they needed was understood by them, like the demons. They saw that they have lot of cruelty. So by this syllable the, they understood daya, means compassion. What they need to practice to overcome their this terrible bondage of cruelty. So they understood that daya or compassion is the practice that they need to do. For the human beings, the problem is that they want to hoard, they want to just possess things, run after various things and try to possess them. That is the bondage of human beings. It is how much one needs, but then we collect so much, and then that becomes our bondage. Not that we use that, but then we take pride that look, I have 4 different houses in different places, and so many stocks and bonds. I have so much other things. I have so many relations, friends. I have so much power. All collecting, you see. Possessing is the problem with human beings. So they want to practice the different, that is giving up. So they understood by this the dana means to donate, to give. So human beings should give, that is the practice. Giving doesn't come very easy. Because if we give, we have thoughts, that what I will get in return, what is there in for me. So therefore, a plain just giving does not come that easily. Although it is going to be helpful to me, but still I try to calculate that okay, if I give this much, what then will be my benefit, whether that person will be feeling indebted to me or not, will that person at least thank me or not. All these ideas, they spring up. But thus this becomes a bondage for human beings. We cannot give freely. So therefore the practice is, okay, learn to give, dana. And then there is the other practice. Those who are celestial beings, they are prone to lot of enjoyments. They have the tendency to enjoy all these sense pleasures. They are all surrounded by various objects of enjoyments, and then they are being pulled by those. They are made to dance to the tunes of all these things around them. So for them, therefore, they understood that what we need to do is damana, means control these continuously rising these desires for enjoyment. Stop, control. So these 3 different people, different categories of souls, they understood the same letter differently. What it shows is that the spiritual practices are not identical for all. The ultimate goal is same, but the practices depend on how one's constitution is. So, according to the constitution, one has to proceed, and so here it is description that an aspirant of this type should avoid all objects of temptation, carefully maintain external purity and conduct, and engage in japa and purascharanam, that is repetition of a mantra for perfection. Yeah, purascharana means you repeat that mantra for a million times. You have to repeat it a million times in a certain period. So you keep on doing it, and usually they do say 14 hours every day or 12 hours every day. They will do this for say 1 year or 2 years, whatever it takes. So they keep on doing it. Many try to do what is called Gayatri Purascharana. It is that Gayatri is a very well known mantra, a powerful mantra, and so many out of devotion, out of a sense of righteousness, or to get some other powers, they keep on, they do this Gayatri Purascharana. Some do this Mahamrityunjaya mantra Purascharana, and the Purascharana is like that, repeating it a million times or so. So it is, they have to do all this. That is the practice for them, so that they bubbling these propensities of enjoyment can be subdued. They are otherwise rising all the time, not letting the mind be stabilized at all. So they have to take up that special discipline to put a stop to it. It is otherwise it just goes haywire, destroys one's spiritual life. It is like an insane person whose level of insanity becomes so much that then that person has to be put under confinement, and otherwise that person may either commit suicide, murder, destroy things. It will be a problem. Therefore that person needs to be put under confinement. So similarly here also you see such a person needs to put certain disciplines on oneself. No, I will not do this. I will do fasting on such days. I will not give in to all these temptations. I will. So many rules, regulations are then necessary. Some need to be put, forced externally. So it is. That is what an aspirant of Pashubhava needs to do. That, oh, you cannot do it on your own. Okay, put yourself under this discipline. Okay, go and stay somewhere where you will be protected from these tempting objects being around you. So stay in this some cave somewhere. So all these are prescribed practices for those who are of this bestial mode. In the heroic aspirant, passion for God prevails over the animal propensities. Now there are animal propensities, but the desire to realize God is intense. So they have a different prescription. And there those passions will be overcome by the devotion in them. So they don't care about putting externally some control over these passions. What does it matter? It is their devotion is so much that they don't care that okay, there are these tempting objects around, or somebody has other, that some various desires come up, but then the desire for realization of God is so much powerful that other desires, they get subdued by that without making any effort. So, this is done in just as for patient who cannot control eating. So they are given some discipline. Okay, you eat this, that so that your mouth will not have any taste for a long time. So there won't be any tendency to eat. There are some others who don't need that. They may have also the desire to eat, but it is the other desires, they are so powerful that automatically subdues this desire. So, it is like that, the devotion to God being so prominent, they don't need to think about how to control this and how to control that, just practice devotion. And then the other desires, they will just get subdued by that. So, this type of aspirant should remain unperturbed while living amidst the temptations of lust and gold, and try to devote his or her whole mind to God. As for the aspirant of the divine mode, the mind of such a one is free from lust and anger, and has been carried away forever by the current of divine love. For that person, the practice of forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, contentment, truthfulness, and other virtues has become as natural as breathing. In short, it can be said about these three modes of sadhana that the best, second best, and the inferior aspirants mentioned in Vedanta are correspondingly the followers of divine, heroic, and bestial modes described in Tantra. So, Tantra has all these depending on what the characteristic of that person is. It has been, the practices suitable for them have been mentioned. Any comments that you may have on this? Any questions, any comments? Yes, Abhijit? Oh well, it is a different division. Left-handed means Vamachara Tantra and Dakshinachara Tantra. There are various different types there, but each has these three modes. It is it is not that Vamachara Tantra has only one of these. No, Vamachara Tantra is there. There is, so it is Dakshina Tantra is there. So Vama means left-handed, but that is a different division. That division is not in each of them again. Like you may say that Shakti Tantra, Shaiva Tantra, Vishnu Tantra. So again, each of them will have these modes. So it is not that Vamachara Tantra is a fourth mode. No. It is even Vamachara Tantra will have these three different modes. So,
because the way I had understood is there are people who have these again tendencies, animal tendencies, and the animal tendencies are kind of leveraged to uplift yourself in the left-handed.
well, that is not only animal tendencies as such. It is the tantra is a technique of using what you have uh, to your advantage. That is, the passions or whatever are there. It is whether it is Vamachar or other. All tantras are like that. Tantra is therefore using what you have to achieve your objective. They, what you have is being misused, and so to give it the right direction, that is the job of the tantra. That you have this, okay, let us see how best it can be put to use. So, Vamachar is not a particular category in these three. It is in Vamachar also you have all these categories there. So, it is a special type of the tantric practice, that's all, which will have all these three again. Yeah. Yes, Pritish?
I think I have a simplified understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not that in general. Sri Ramakrishna came and simplified the practice for the common people.
Yes.
So japam, meditation, karma yoga, jnana yoga. This tantra is very esoteric. What we have learned in this path, and this is a very esoteric thing, and it's not practiced as much. At least in the Bengal, it's getting obsolete.
What you are saying is in a way correct, that the tantra as they were practiced earlier,
Before, yeah.
that a lot of it underwent tremendous corruption, and therefore they lost their efficacy. And what Sri Ramakrishna did was by practicing those and then putting them in a different form. Now you don't call it tantra directly, but actually they are all tantric practices modified in the light of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, like the mantra, that the Ishta mantra that Guru gives. Most of the mantras that are given to followers of Sri Ramakrishna, they are actually tantric type mantras. They are not Vedic mantras, they are tantric mantras. Also, the worship that we do every day, that is a tantric worship. But all these things now have been purified. They have been, cleansed of all those very, what I should say, anti-spiritual tyings around them. So they have been cleansed. The corruption comes naturally in human mind as the thing becomes, gradually we try to, somehow conveniently put our desires of worldly enjoyment and just give a name to it as spiritual practice. That doesn't change it. It is just changing the label doesn't work. That tendency has to be uh, turned around, and not changing the label, but it is to be turned around so that it becomes beneficial. But over the course of, say, centuries, people started using those hallowed tantric practices only to further get embroiled in sense enjoyment. So that is the difference. So Sri Ramakrishna practiced those, and then he therefore told about the practices, and he forbade them. That it is his forbiddance is there, that don't go that path. He said, yes, that also is a path, but don't go by that path, because you are not fit for it. It is, you will get lost. Swami Vivekananda, while telling about the rules of this organization, he said to his disciples, none of you are capable of doing tantra practices that Sri Ramakrishna practiced, so do not go in that direction. But that doesn't mean that the beneficial aspect of tantra is given up. It is retained. That is how the avatars, the incarnations of God, they do that. The great, important, beneficial aspect is retained. The gold is kept. All the dross that was collected on it, that got cleaned up. It is, the dross was so much that was as if that is the real thing. I remember that back in India there was a sweetmeat shop, and then this summer time, this sultry weather, and on they keep it to say for sale just outside without any cover. All flies were sitting on that whatever, all was just full of flies only. And is so one customer, to make that seller aware that what is, how you are selling, it's all dirty. So he asked, at what price are you selling these flies? No, didn't ask the price of the sweetmeat. At what price do you sell these flies? So it is, the tantra was so much covered with all these filthy practices. Sri Ramakrishna, therefore, he is called Yoga Sahaya. That yes, in the arati that we chant every day, one special name of Sri Ramakrishna given is that Yoga Sahaya, that he gives that all these different practices become sanctified, cleansed, and made available for our use. So exactly, he did not demolish or destroy tantra practices, but incorporated those things. So it is, that is how tantras they are in our practices. It is like that. Any other thing? Any comment there? Yes.
First one is from Chris Bartolotta. Is this heroic mood the same one that Thakur cautioned against, or was he referring to the heroic mood in Vamachar?
No. This heroic mode is dependent on, again, that how Sri Ramakrishna also advocated for this heroic mode of worship. That okay, he said, why, who cares that what passions are there and what detrimental other things are there. I have taken the name of Divine Mother. I am not going to get affected by any of that. So, that is the heroic mode. It is. So, heroic mode is not necessarily Vamachara. This was the mistake, that Vamachara is another one particular wing in which the tantras are practiced, but this Veera Bhava or the heroic mood is for those, as I mentioned earlier, that they have so much of devotion that they don't care about this. Like, many have that allergies, that it is like poison ivy allergy. Here so many people, they don't like to go in the woods or go in the gardens, because if there is poison allergy, they are very allergic to it. So, they refrain. It is, I remember that I did, since I was sure I don't have that allergy, I showed, look, I am not only touching it, I am pulling it out, I am rubbing it to my hand, see, nothing will happen. Because that is just an example, that some people will get affected by certain things, some others won't get affected because of certain other kind of shields around them. So, therefore, Veera Bhava is that that shield of devotion is so strong that it doesn't matter. Sri Ramakrishna used to get all those different kind of food stuff, sweetmeats and all from people, and who he knew that some of them the people are giving out of some desires, and also they are not pure in character. So, he won't eat that stuff, would not allow anybody else to eat it either, except Narendranath, Swami Vivekananda. So, he would tell, okay, you eat it. Why he would say that the fire of knowledge is so strongly burning in Narendranath that all this gets burnt, but hey, none of you others can eat it. This is how the Veera Bhava is, that this person does not specifically run away from the objects of enjoyment. They may be all around, but there is the big shield of devotion around, and therefore this person does not get bothered by those things. So, like there are the flu and other diseases around, if you have a lot of immunity, then you will not get bothered by that. So, there are two ways of, say, not having this COVID-19. Don't go to places where you may get infected, keep social distancing and so forth, keep a mask. That is one way of avoiding it. The other is, well, if you develop inner immunity, if you have that inner immunity, then it will not affect you, but then who knows, so whether you have it or not. So, it is like that Veera Bhava, they have that devotional upsurge so much that it keeps everything away. Sri Ramakrishna used to therefore call Narendranath as that unsheathed sword, khap khola talwar, unsheathed sword, that any attack of Maya or these temptations would get just cut to pieces by this unsheathed sword of knowledge. So that is Veera Bhava, that what does it matter? It is so. Many later on also used to criticize Swami Vivekananda for eating various things that one as a monk should not eat. But nothing was going to affect his power of discernment was so strong that nothing could affect his inner wisdom, inner knowledge, or the shine of that inner devotion would remain just intact. So, in fact, when he was going on a trip and talking to, he had some these American ladies with him, and then while he was moving with them, he, an old sannyasi, he told him that you are going and there are so many people around, you are doing like this, you are strong, I can see, you will not have any problem, but then others may emulate you and that will be their downfall. Swami Vivekananda understood it and therefore started staying in a separate place. So that is what the Veera Bhava is, that there is that person doesn't need to put any that run away from the situation, has the capability of facing it, is powerful enough, so doesn't need to be to take cognizance of all those things. So this is the Veera Bhava. What is the other question? Three more, okay.
One from Charlie. Why didn't Sri Ramakrishna pick a teacher in the divine mode?
Why?
Why didn't Sri Ramakrishna pick a teacher in the divine mode?
Why did Sri Ramakrishna did not
Pick a teacher in the divine mode.
Oh well, it is that is not the question. I don't know the answer. Why did he pick up? He actually didn't pick up the teacher. That was already told that the teachers came to him inspired by Divine Mother. Divine Mother told the teachers, okay, you go. And Sri Ramakrishna learned from them. Now why he didn't pick up any teacher, so why did he not pick up a particular one is difficult for anybody to say. Yeah, he picked up so many, means he did so many different teachers came to him of different types. So this and all teachers came to him inspired by the Divine Mother. He did not go to in search of teacher. No.
Just a comment on that, can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Brahmani, Sri Ramakrishna practiced 64 tantras, which one person cannot practice one.
Yeah.
And I thought that divine mode and that bestial mode, everything is included in that 64.
That is true. All that are included. Sri Ramakrishna practiced all of them. His question is, why did not he choose a teacher?
Brahmani was the teacher.
No, teacher of the divine mode. Brahmani was the teacher, it is shown, of the Veera Bhava, heroic mode. That was Brahmani's prominent characteristic. So, the question is that why Sri Ramakrishna, if he had to choose the teacher, he should have chosen someone of divine mode. Well, I don't have any answer to that. Why should he? He did not choose any teacher basically. Yeah.
Next question is from Jyoti. Can anyone practice Purascharana? Are there any prerequisites?
Oh well, I don't know. There has to be they all the congenial situations, and there are rules associated with Purascharana. It is one has to completely get separated from all other works and so forth. There are so many rules. I am not conversant with all of them. So, anyone I am sure can practice, but if one is has that freedom, capability of doing it, and has then one can practice. There is not a bar that this person cannot and that person can. If there is an intense desire to do Purascharana, one can. And the question is why one wants to do it. It all boils down to that too, that why you want to do Purascharana. So, it is the mind should be cleansed, It is many times these practices are taken up with some other desires in mind, and then doing something very superlatively fantastic, one feels that, hey, you see, I am not an ordinary person, I have done Purascharana and such, so if that is the case, it becomes detrimental too. So, it is one can do. I am sure there is no bar to it, but one has to see the conditions and how much one can actually do that, how much time one can take out for that. It is all that depends on that. It is one can do it, yeah. Oh, Japa Yajna, yes, Japa Yajna or our day long meditation, but it is a very mild. It is not Purascharana. Is it is simplified, toned down. It is very much toned down, that practice, but the motivation is important. Yeah. Any other question?
One more from Sarada. Pranam Swamiji. Tantra speaks about karma in a positive way. Is it good to use sense pleasures to learn of God if you are able to remain unattached?
Oh well, if it is actually the question wouldn't come at all, that it is the Tantra is not sense pleasures, but converting means turning them towards God, that instead of having pleasure of this and this and this, I will use that I will be happy with God with all these. That is what the Tantra does, that it is told, therefore it is the conversion. It is the conversion of the tendency to that achieve God realization. That is the way it is done. So, Sri Ramakrishna told many times that okay, if you have lust, then have that lust for God. I want to get united with God. If you feel, say, anger, why get angry with this fellow and that fellow? Get angry with God. That why, oh God, you didn't bless me with your vision so far? Why? Come on, tell me. Have a fight with God. get angry with God about it, and so forth, you say. So it is, if you feel the possessiveness, okay, feel that possessiveness for God. My God, yes, I want that, more and more of that. So that is how these passions are to be turned to God. So they don't remain then sense pleasures when directed to God. They become these practices for spiritual evolution. Yeah. So, yes.
And the difference between the heroic mode and the divine mode, as I understand, like in the divine mode, there is no instinct, animal instinct at all. Everything is flowing toward God. In the heroic mode, whatever is flowing toward God is dominating over any desire that you have. So even if you have some desires, that is overcome by the love for God. So, for example, in Vivekananda's case, I'm not sure if it could be heroic or if it's divine.
Oh, see, these are not watertight compartments. For Swami Vivekananda, the examples that I gave were the Veera Bhava, that he wouldn't care for the external things. So, Divya Bhava is the person will have no such things around, will be always immersed in that feeling. It is with Swami Vivekananda externally, he was moving with all different types of people as Narendranath. There appeared to be, so many, he was interested in sports and music and all that. So, he would go for all those things. So, that is how that is but the desires for these things were there, they are desires. So, but that did not affect, that is the important point, that those desires, pursuit of those things did not touch his spiritual inner core. The divine mode is, the person is not at all interested in those things, is always only interested in meditating or singing the praises of Lord. Prahlada is that divine mode, if one wants to take an example, that there is nothing else that is seen that person engaged in. Yeah, correct. So, these are the different parts of this tantras. So, very good. We are now at 8:30. So, we already have the question answer session, and then it is I will just read the next paragraph. The most things are already explained. Although the Brahmani was foremost amongst heroic aspirants, she had not achieved the divine mode. As she observed the living example of the divine mode of the master and benefited from his support, the Brahmani gradually developed a desire to achieve that state. That Brahmani, the Brahmani saw that as soon as the master heard the word Siddhi, that is Marwana, or Karana, wine, he became overwhelmed with the consciousness of God, the cause of the universe. Whenever he saw a woman, whether chaste or unchaste, he remembered the Divine Mother's power of creation and of bestowing joy and felt himself to be her child. His hands and limbs recoiled from the very touch of gold and other metals even while he was asleep. Living near such a spiritual dynamo, what person would not have the passion for God enkindled? What person should not become disgusted with ephemeral wealth and power and desire to establish a personal relationship with God? We heard that this is why the Brahmani decided to practice severe austerities for the rest of her life. So, we shall continue our discussion. Yes? They all of them will have these three different modes. Yeah. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.